Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news this evening, what started out as a routine patrol last night turned into a high-speed chase and guns being fired. In the end, police shot and killed two suspects who they say were threatening the lives of officers. Clint Watson was on the scene for the police-involved shooting.
It's another example that police-led special operations could have positive or deadly consequences. In fact, early this morning around 2:15, as officers were carrying out yet another operation in the eastern area of the capital, they discovered in Highbury Park a small dark vehicle with occupants acting suspiciously. Officers pursued the vehicle, which gave chase, making several maneuvers through various corners. But it was at the junction of St. Michael's Road and Prince Charles Drive near Burger King, which happened to be under construction, that the drama took a fatal turn.
The passenger of this vehicle exited, brandishing a handgun pointed in the direction of the officers, who in turn opened fire on the suspect. He was fatally shot. The officers attempted to stop the vehicle that the suspect came from, and the driver attempted to overrun the police officers, who in turn opened fire on the vehicle, resulting in the driver of the vehicle being shot fatally. Two additional persons were arrested.
Her Majesty's Coroner Linda Virgil was on the scene, particularly as this matter will call for an inquest. Cameraman Valentino Benier was able to obtain close-up footage as officials processed the scene. ZNS News asked Assistant Commissioner of Police for Crime Anthony Ferguson if he was satisfied how his officers responded.
All I will say at the moment is that we have an active investigations ongoing, and I would like for the investigation to be concluded before I offer any further comments on that.
Illegal firearms are a major problem, but police say they won't stop their efforts in detecting where these arms are.
On any given morning, officers take any amount of firearms off the street. And again, as you see, persons are just driving about our streets with firearms, and the police is very, very vigilant. And you will find, moving forward, the police will continue to target criminals, persons who believe that they can run up and down the street. It is very important that we continue to make the Bahamas a safe place for persons to work, visit, and play.
These routine operations conducted by police are said to be yielding significant results, although in these crime-challenging times, they're proving more dangerous as the risk increases.
Each time that you go on the street, you have to be aware that anything can happen. And so therefore, a police officer has to be alert. And that is the training. And as we continue to move forward, I wish to say that criminals can be on the light, that police will continue to target them. There's no hiding place for criminals in this Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and we will continue to target them, arrest them where necessary.
As for the public, police had this to say if you are stopped during their routine checks.
If you do nothing, you fear nothing.
Now, we can tell you that a firearm was recovered in this incident. However, these deaths are not being classified as murders. They are homicides, but because they are police-involved shootings, they're not called murders. Police continue to investigate. Clint Watson, ZNS News.
Anti-crime advocate Bahamas Against Crime is cautioning officials not to put too much emphasis on resources to fight crime. Reverend C.B. Moss says getting to the root of crime includes much more than that.
It is imperative, therefore, that all sectors of society step up to the plate now. Bahamas Against Crime will intensify its efforts to mobilize Bahamians to focus on the battle against crime with more urgency and resolve. Bahamians should not be lulled into complacency because no murders have been officially recorded in the last week or so. Even with the best effort, it's going to be a long while before a tolerable level of crime will be reached in the Bahamas.
The executive director adds that crime should not be measured in a short period of time.
Crime is an insidious problem. It is very difficult to measure the success in a short period of time. It has to be viewed over an extended period of time. Crime fighting is expensive. There's going to have to be much more investment put into the fight against crime, not only in law enforcement by way of equipment and machinery, but also in the community effort through programs and activities for the young people.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell is representing the Prime Minister at the summit in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. The subject is Rio +20. It refers to the first Earth Summit in 1992. In 2003, Minister Mitchell attended the second summit in Johannesburg on behalf of the Prime Minister to map out the way forward for sustainable development. This is a critical issue for the Bahamas, which stands to suffer from the effects of climate change. Police have charged a 43-year-old Abaco man in connection with that Abaco boating tragedy last week. He's Treasure Key resident Alphonse Edner, also known as Carpo. Prosecutors allege that between Sunday, June 10th and Monday, June 11th, while at Treasure Key Abaco, Edner and others purposely aided and abetted in committing the offense of manslaughter in the deaths of 11 people, including Shayna Baptiste, Widna Tirilen, Jessica Baptiste, Ismona Pierre, Elviana Baptiste, of Christenti Joseph, and an unknown female. Edner is also accused of the manslaughter deaths of Jermaine Joseph, Evensky Baptiste, Curdley Baptiste, and Alonzo Joseph. The 11 victims reported after the boat sank in rough seas off Abaco. The group was reportedly en route to Florida. Prosecutors are expected to file a voluntary bill of indictment in the case. Meantime, Edner is being held without bail at the Fox Hill prison. Pilgrim Baptist Church pastor Bishop Randy Fraser didn't get the result he was hoping for in the High Court today. Fern Carey tells us that after months of waiting, the appellate court handed down its decision today, giving the 54-year-old some harsh food for thought.
It took less than 10 minutes for Court of Appeal President Justice Anita Allen to tell Pilgrim Baptist Church pastor Bishop Randy Fraser that the appeal against his unlawful sex conviction is dismissed and his sentence upheld. Justice Allen also told Fraser what he did was, quote, a contemptible act which deserves the severest condemnation. Last November, the lower court sentenced Fraser to 3 years in prison after convicting him of having unlawful sexual intercourse with a 16-year-old dependent between July 2005 and February 2006. During the proceedings, Fraser appeared calm, as Justice Allen, in reading portions of the written ruling, told him all grounds of his appeal were without merit. Fraser's attorney argued earlier, among other things, that his right to a fair trial was violated by the interventions of the magistrate. However, Justice Allen, in commenting on the case, said unassailable facts reveal Fraser was, quote, a sexual predator under the guise of a man of the cloth and counselor who abandoned all of his obligations and responsibilities, particularly his commitment to uphold the teachings of Christ, who commanded them, saying, suffer the little children to come unto me. Justice Allen also told Fraser he obnoxiously betrayed the young, vulnerable, and emotionally fragile complainant who was entrusted to his care for emotional and spiritual healing, disgustingly defiled the sanctum of his church, and besmirched the good name of men and women of the cloth who daily perform their Christian duties with diligence and integrity. Justice Allen also told Bishop Fraser, quote, that his actions has brought shame and odium to his church, his wife, his children, and indeed the community. Meantime, Bishop Fraser will continue serving his 3-year sentence in Hill Prison. Fern Carey, ZNS News.
Following BTC's major communication blackout earlier this week, the company is giving back to its customers, and prepaid cellular, postpaid cellular, and landline customers will all benefit. Starting midnight tomorrow, prepaid cellular customers will get a $5 credit, a rate reduction, and data customers 2 days free service. Postpaid customers will get to call nationwide free as well, starting midnight tomorrow, and postpaid data customers will get a credit on their bill. Landline customers will also get a $5 credit on July's bill. There are some stipulations for the goodwill gesture from BTC, so make sure to check out BTC's webpage. Blackout, and it's looking for ways to show appreciation to customers for their patience. Today, members of the business community learned more about the incentives available under the City of Nassau Revitalization and Hotels Encouragement Act. It's an initiative spearheaded by the Bahamas Investment Authority and Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, along with the Employers Confederation. And as Altavi's Munnings tells us, they hope to give business owners an opportunity to increase their wealth and boost the national economy at the same time.
Did you know that the City of Nassau Revitalization Act enables Nassau property owners to initiate capital investment by the approval of exemption of real property tax, customs duty, and excise tax? Or that the Hotels Encouragement Act allows temporary duty-free importation of construction plant and exportation on completion of the project? Believe it or not, there are some individuals who didn't. Well, some members of the business community took advantage of the information disseminated on that legislation at a breakfast information meeting Thursday morning at the British Colonial Hilton Hotel.
In a difficult economy, there are two things that needs to happen to get it to where it needs to be. You need investor confidence and you need consumer confidence. This will focus primarily on investor confidence.
In Cayman, the creation of a new city by the Dart Corporation in Cayman Bay. And this, very near to us, is an example of what can be achieved.
The City of Nassau Revitalization Act 2008 and the amendments to the Hotels Encouragement Act provide customs duties and concessions on building materials and equipment.
The nearly 90-minute meeting not only featured presentations from Bahamas Investment Authority officials on the incentives available, but a question and answer period that shed more light on the information, like expansion of the City of Nassau Revitalization Act that expires soon. Co-chairman of the Downtown Nassau Partnership, Charles Clanaris, is happy to see stakeholders engage in public-private partnership.
The cost of doing business or a development is extremely expensive in this island. So the Revitalization Act is really a blessing.
The Minister of State for Investments, Killis Roll, welcomed the suggestions raised by the business community.
So I will recommendations to the Prime Minister that these things under consideration.
Altavi's Munnings, ZNS News.
Debate on the budget communication continued in the upper chamber this morning. Senator the Honorable Jerome Gomez, who ran for the Killarney seat during the last election, said residents in the Cable Beach area want to know exactly what's happening in terms of beach access. As Janaea Noel Ferguson reports, Senator Gomez is now urging Bomber officials to hold a town meeting on the matter.
The underwater line of a pipeline from Long Key to Goodman's Bay by Ocean Thermal, a company on whose board sits former Senate President Lynn Holoesco, is causing concern for residents of Cable Beach. This according to Senator the Honorable Jerome Gomez during his budget contribution today.
This will be the first project attempted by this company, a company that has no track record with this type of technology. And I only wish to show a number of articles, and I'll show them in a minute. Residents of the Cable Beach area have raised the alarm as they understand that Goodman's Bay Beach and the park will be closed for 6 months to facilitate this work.
Gomez presented several news articles to back up his claim. The pipeline is intended to pump seawater to the multi-million-dollar Bahama project to cool its air conditioning system.
Goodman's Bay is one of the few beaches that Bahamians have access to. And as one person said to me recently, the developers of Bahama live behind gated communities with their own private beaches. So we therefore, Bahamians need to protect their beach. So I call upon the Minister of Environment to investigate these claims and for Bahama to call a town meeting with the residents of Cable Beach to outline exactly what they're attempting to do at the beach.
Now, Gomez says this feature to the Bahama project was not presented in its original design 5 years ago. For this, he laid the blame squarely at the feet of the F&M administration.
During the last PLP term in office, I sat as deputy chairman of the Town Planning Committee. During that 5-year period as I sat on that board, at no time was the proposal to run a pipeline a part of that project. Neither was the Chinese involvement. So this project, Bahama today, is clearly a F&M design project in the state it is at this time.
Our ZNS News team contacted Bahama executives and were told that they have committed to a public meeting to update residents on the project for some time in July. We were also told that Bahama supports the concept of OTEC, but they do not control its operations. And while Bahama is interested in buying OTEC services, that will only be made possible once the company fulfills its government obligations, which Bahama officials say they have not. Executives also confirmed that beach access of no point in the Bahama development will be restricted. A check of the OTEC's website did not confirm this as a project currently underway, but a service that is being presently offered by the company. Attempts to reach officials of OTEC were unsuccessful up until news time. Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS News.
Also from the Senate this morning, Senator the Honorable Joseph Curry addressed the government's proposed mortgage plan. Senator Curry said while the plan is not a perfect one, it will help thousands of persons to remain in their homes.
Every casual economic observer is aware that we have a mortgage crisis on our hand, and no one escapes its effects. According to the central bank, 13% of the mortgages held by the commercial banking sector are at 3 months or over past due. This circumstance has severely impacted the profitability of commercial banks. Furthermore, as many as 3,000 families perhaps are directly impacted and face the prospect of losing their homes because they have not been able to meet their loan obligations. While it may be reasonable to speculate that some of those persons find themselves in that position because of unwise financial decisions, the clear evidence suggests that the vast majority of them are victims of a poorly performing economy.
Senator Curry also commented on efforts by the government to get control of the Bahamian airspace. He said if successful, this will produce significant benefits.
As this will create new economic opportunities, it will increase the revenue base and introduce new jobs and indeed, I believe, a new industry. 2004 study suggests that this could yield on an annual basis close to $30 million and employ as many as 100 Bahamians.
For the opposition, Senator the Honorable Shivago Lang said the debate on the budget has not been a true debate at all. Rather, he said the debate has been set on Ingram bashing, false bloating, and an excuse debate by members of the government. He said it was utterly shameful and not helpful to the Bahamian people. He addressed the Minister of State payment issue and accused the government of trying to pay their Minister of State $6,000 more than others. When caught, he said the government blamed it on an error. While the former administration has been roundly criticized for its borrowing practices, Lang said the PLP is guilty of this with not much to show for it.
In the best of times, in 5 years, the Christie administration had no difficulty borrowing $832 million when the previous government had borrowed about $700 million in 10 years.
Talk about drunken sailor?
Over that period, and had precious little that could be tangibly shown for it.
In the Bahamas tonight, the success stories these students have to tell. Stay tuned.